Hey everybody. Today is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to show you an orchard that we're doing here, irrigated with pond water using a siphon, so using gravity, which is really cool. Fertigated pond water for an orchard. But before that, just a quick view of the peppers. So these are some of the ones I bought. Transplants from seed. Transplants are chocolate brain strain, primo yellow, and Naga Viper. This is a Chad Zaleski. So this is a chocolate butla. I made really good blackberry sauce with it like 4 years ago, and I wanted to try it again. Throw some more outside. Just before the peppers, we do have some other kind of trees that we bought for the orchard as well that we haven't planted. I gotta plant these today, actually. These are native here. They're pawpaws. So these are pawpaw as a fruit that grows local in Oklahoma. So there's three. Have one more inside, way smaller. But as far as the peppers are concerned, these are all from seed, except everything here is from seed except just this here. So it's some melon and some red Hobbs are transplant, and then they're sun scalded too. You can tell the whitening on the leaves. And then and then we have my son. He planted some flowers. He got a pack of seeds from school, and I got them separated by the strongest and the weakest. The ones that didn't survive already got cold away, but those are from seed. These tomatoes here are also from seed. These are in like, I don't know, 15-gallon or so. So they're flowering now, finally. I've been picking the flowers off, but they're big enough to let flower now. So there's two big ones, and then we got some other stuff. So we got like some Chihuahua Negro peppers, something eating up all the tips. I don't know what it is, but it's literally eating all the tips off. But Chihuahua Negro, this is this one here. These are Ethiopian brown. So there's like a good amount of pods on this one. And then this one is a Tavachi. So this is like a Mexican chili. There's like peppers on this one as well. See? Another Ethiopian brown here as well. Chilahakle again. Another tomato. This is a Tavachi also. You can tell this thing really wants the fruit. Tons of fruit. This is, looks like this pepper took. Where's my finger? Right there. Yeah, that one. That's a pepper there. But yeah, there's this one's barely starting. I've been like pinching them off, but it's time to let it go. And then another Ethiopian brown. You can just tell by the leaves. The fatter leaves like this are Ethiopian that are tall, and then the shorter ones with the fatter leaves are the Chihuahua Negro peppers. And then these are some that had a different soil treatment and light treatment. So all the bigger ones I had in a grow tent starting in January. These were in the grow tent for a couple weeks, and then they went to a window. Something landed on this one and broke this off. That sucks because it's already kind of flimsy to begin with. Oh, and we lost that part too. Okay, so yeah, see how flimsy it is. So I'm gonna end up probably picking all these pods off, these flowers. That way it can strengthen up before it tries the fruit, because it gets really windy here. And then another tomato. But yeah, so the soil here is, I've been learning that you don't want so much organic matter in the soil. You want a lot of microbes in the soil, and you want, some nutrients, but not necessarily like rotting, decomposing organic matter at the root zone. So I cut a lot of the soil way down with vermiculite, pumice stone, and peat moss, pretty substantially. So the organic matter is a lot lower, and it rained a lot here, like 4 days straight, and we don't really see a lot of rotting at the root zone because it would show at the leaf, it's showing the leaves if it were. But yeah, so this is a fig, a cold tolerant fig that looks to have some issues, but nothing horrible. So let me walk down and show you the orchard. So yeah, this is the start of our season. Just trying to get an early start with some of the fruit. And these are heat tolerant, drought tolerant tomatoes, all of the ones you see here. And I culled off all the weaker ones, and these are the strongest of the strong of the strong. So there's only really one, two, 3, 4 tomatoes left out of all of them. And so these are going to be really strong. I'm going to need to trellis this one like that one there by the end of summer, so that it can stay up. But hoping to save seed for our future tomatoes based on what we have here. All right, so I'm walking. I'm just holding the phone in my hand, so it's not very professional. So I'm thinking about doing another channel, which is going to focus on homesteading. So here we're looking to do. We got a lot of acreage. We're looking to do. What we know we're going to do is a garden, greenhouse, orchard, and cattle. Now, how large the cattle production gets, I don't know, but we have a lot of grass, and this is perennial native grasses. So I'm going to be focusing on land restoration with perennial grasses. I might bring in some other non-natives, and maybe even non-perennial that could seed every year by themselves, as long as we manage it to where they can go to seed before the cows graze. So that's all in the air, but we're looking to do a channel that's going to encompass all of that. Possible dog breeding, specifically leaning towards homestead dogs. 2 breeds that I'm thinking about are, I paused it. I can't remember one of the breeds. It's a white dog, a furry dog. It's known to be, if you raise it with a livestock, you can add in the description in the chat the name. I probably will do the same thing myself. But it's a white dog. It's hairy, it's furry, and it's known that if you raise it with like the chickens and goats, like as a puppy, when it grows up, it won't kill them. It'll become part of the flock. It's a wandering dog. It'll wander your whole property. So if you have like a couple hundred acres, you could use a few of those dogs for your few hundred acres. And then the cane corso, not the giant ones, like the big huge like 200-pound ones, but like the more muscular, athletic, more traditional variety cane corso is what I'm thinking. So those 2 type. So we're looking to do a channel like that. So it's a little bit different than my normal just peppers and just gardening stuff, because it started just peppers. That's how God got me hooked into it, and then then I got expanded. I made some tomatoes and flowers here and there, and then from there, let's try to do some trees, and then from there, like some of the stuff you see unfolding now, which includes this orchard, which is really exciting because we just barely today figured out the watering. So it's not hot yet here, so it's in the 70s in a day, but next week it's going to be in the 80s. But soon, if there's a drought, say a month, and there's no rain, then that's when the evaporation is going to start kicking in, and then we got to really worry about watering, because these are bare root trees. They're bare root, which makes it a little easier for them to root without having a huge top and a little root ball all condensed. They're bare root, so there's like no top, and the roots get to expand as the top expands, so it's a little bit more balanced growth. So in a drought situation, they're going to be a little stronger. So we went with all bare root. So it's going into that. So you're going to see here how we're watering. Again, we're using gravity. I wanted to rely on a law that it's an unbreakable law for the heart of the orchard. So it's going to be gravity fed irrigation. It's going to be a 3-inch flex line that's using a siphon system that it's just really, really basic stuff. And the thing is, this is our second iteration, so not too basic. We thought we had it on the first, but for some reason there was like air in the line or something to where the siphon would break in like 30 seconds. And then we were like, and then the guy we're working with couldn't come back for like a month. And we were like, well, it's not really an orchard until you plant the water. Like, you can have all the trees you want, but until you plant the water, it's really not an orchard. So now we have the water planted. We tested the siphon. We filled all but the bottom swell. So the way the swells work, and I'm giving you a pre-up before we get down there. I think one of us is down there now, looks like. But anyways, The way the swales work is that the siphon hits the first swale. The first swale has like a billboard tarp on the lowest point of the swale that overflows, helps with erosion, the tarp, and that overflows into the next swale, overflows into the next swale with tarps. And the tarps are laid not in a line, but just where it happens to be the lowest part of the swale. That's where the billboard tarps. They use a laser level to line it all up. Before we laid the orchard out, we wanted to lay it out uphill, but it happened to be, well, there's a few things that were wrong with it uphill. One is that the soil, not so bad, it was BNRD soil, which is still classified as prime irrigation soil. BNRD soil, brick hard niotate, I believe is what it stands for. Just basically means that you have soil up to about 3 or 4 feet deep, and you're going to have pockets of sandy soil and pockets of clay soil. And that's what I noticed up there. So there's pockets of sandy and clay. An example is we want to put a garden up there, an outside garden, fence it from the deer. But the part where we were going to put it at, which has windbreak all the way around with trees, which is really cool. Unfortunately, it's clay soil. And then there's rocks and stuff in there too, because it's brick hard niotate. So it's known to be rocky. It's a rocky soil. So along with it being rocky and clay bound, we didn't really want that. So I went around and found some sandy stuff. But here, bringing you back to this story here with the orchard, it's we were planning on doing the orchard there, because you know in all the permaculture videos you're told put your orchard close to your zone 1. You know, you might want to put your orchard zone 2 close to the house, or if you do maintenance, it's not too far. If you got to, wheelbarrow compost out, it's not too far, stuff like that. But it didn't work. It didn't work because, for one, if we do rainwater, we got to have like 80,000 gallon cisterns, so that's unfeasible. If we use well water, it's salty. We had that evaluated, so that's unfeasible. So it leaves us with the pond, which actually also brings in fertigation, which is good. But the pond is a little bit away from the residence by about a little bit less, maybe about a quarter mile away. But it's fertigated land, and it just so happens to be just uphill of some DH soil. DH, Delta Hotel. And the DH soil is sandy loam. It's literally the best soil I've ever felt in my fingers. That, like, I can actually grow stuff in that's not someone else's soil. Best soil I've ever seen. And it's just downhill, literally just downhill of the pond. And the way I found out is that the permaculturist that we're working with showed me a website. He says, yeah, you can do it. Well, yeah, you can do a topology diagram. Because when you learn about swales, you learn about topology and slope. But what that doesn't teach you is that, well, that slope is made up of different types of soil, and you want to locate your gardens on the best soil. And there's a website that'll show you the geology. You can get a shovel too and just, go along, or better yet than a shovel, you can get like a rebar, a little bit heavier. Well, it's about the same weight, but you can get rebar, like a 4-inch piece of rebar. You could just walk your land, and wherever you see it sink in better, it's going to be sandier. Wherever you see it like stop on the top of the soil, that's more your clay or even rocks. But yeah, this is DH soil, so it's sandy loam down to 7 feet. And it just so happens to be downhill of the pond, so it just really, really worked out. The wells are too salty, we can't use that. Rain is cool for a small garden, but not an orchard, because our orchard's going to be about an acre in size, so it's not going to work. So not only are we getting really good unsalty water, it's fertigated water. We don't have to use, and we can't, with the pond, use drip or overhead sprinkler irrigation, because it'll gunk up your lines. Because if you're working like 1/8-inch lines or 1/4-inch lines, that'll gunk up real fast. So our lines are 3 inches. So we couldn't even use sprinkler overhead irrigation, because that's what, normally you would want to do that, just because, well, there's more lines and infrastructure, but you can put the water where you need to. And I guess they say it's less evaporation, right? Especially with like drip tape. But let me give you a view close enough. So this is it. It's about a half an acre pond, and the excuse me, the siphon. The siphon is right here. Let me pause and then I'll go down there. So here's inbound. There's a check valve there to only allow water in the pipe, not out. Water comes uphill, literally like 8 feet, and then downhill past 8 feet. This is the valve you open to release in the winter, to winterize this thing. You release the water with this valve. Or if you want to fill it, you open the valve, you close it up down there, and you put 15 5-gallon buckets here. And once it's full, then you close this, and then you open that. The check valve here, while you're filling it, it lets the water go all the way to the check valve and load all that with water, and then all this down to that valve with water. And then when this fills up to the top, you know both sides are full. Then you close this, and you open that to start the siphon. So I'll show the orchard. Oh, also one other thing is we do have a mascot here that lives in the pond, which is really cool. All right, so you see a 3D fence here. We're trying to mitigate the deer before they come, because once they know there's food here, it's going to be really hard to get rid of them without 8-foot fencing. And I'm taking the video right into the sun, so that's not good. I'm gonna go on the other side and take the video back towards the pond this way. But yeah, so if you put the gates, what we're reading, if you put the gates 3 feet apart, you can have 2 layers of gates that are not as tall as like the 1 layer 8-foot tall gate, and it still keeps the deer at bay, so where they could jump it, but and don't mind this, I don't want to go around cutting them all off, so please forgive the sound here. So yeah, so the water comes in here, the rocks stop the erosion there, and then the first swell fills up, all the overflows are on the other side. So water, let me